Hi, my name is Makeda Voletta, also known as the Body Scientist, and I am a strength and conditioning specialist and a sports nutritionist with a background in exercise physiology. In my practice over the past 10 years of working with clients, I have seen a lot of different imbalances and issues in the body, from autoimmune like Crohn's disease and lupus and HIV, arthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, all the various autoimmune diseases that are on the rise, also infectious diseases as like UTIs and upper respiratory tract infections, athlete's foot, yeast infections, STDs, the various kinds of bacterial infections, and metabolic issues as well, digestive issues. One thing that's not really discussed much in nutrition and all the different theories and things that people hear about nutrition and health in general is the importance of probiotics. When it comes to our immune system, 80% of our immune system is located in our digestive tract. Our first line of defense against disease-causing organisms, which includes viruses and bacterial strains, our first line of defense against the bad bacteria is good bacteria. So we need the right balance of good and bad bacteria in our intestines. Good and bad bacteria have different requirements for life. We all have certain requirements for life. So we couldn't just decide to go jump in the ocean and live in the bottom of the ocean, even though there is oxygen in the bottom of in the ocean because it's water, H2O, two hydrogens in an oxygen molecule. So there is oxygen in water, but it's not the right percentage that we need, so we would suffocate. And the creatures that live in the bottom of the ocean cannot come up here and live in your house. They would suffocate because the oxygen is not the right percentage. So all organisms have certain requirements for life. Like some plants need a lot of sun to survive, some can't take that much. Some plants need a lot of rain, a lot of water, and some don't, depending on the climate that they're from. They have certain climates and conditions in which they need to survive. Same thing is true of bacteria. We're surrounded by microorganisms. I remember my first day of microbiology at City College in New York City, and my lab professor started to say, people act like, bacteria, is all in our world. Like bacteria, like where people are so germaphobe and acting like they have to get rid of bacteria, but bacteria is all over everything. Bacteria is in the hottest parts of the earth, and it's in the coldest parts of the earth that scientists have been able to develop equipment to penetrate to the coldest and hottest places. There's still been bacteria there. So there's bacteria covering us. There's bacteria all over everything. You're never going to get rid of them. The thing that's important is maintaining a certain balance. So even in 10th grade biology, 10th grade biology, which was in the 90s, we learned why why we should not use antibacterial soaps, the artificial antibacterial agents that now is so rampant, because it kills all of the bacteria, which includes the good and the bad. And the bad bacteria mutate very quickly, and they mutate very quickly, and then they become resistant to it. So then these super strains start developing. And then it also kills the good bacteria, which prevents the growth of the bad bacteria. And the bad bacteria are more aggressive. So when you kill all the bacteria is more aggressive at forming new colonies. The bad and good bacteria are always fighting for colony space. So the bad bacteria are more aggressive at forming colonies. And if you're not becoming inoculated with good bacteria, which means if you're not becoming exposed to good bacteria, then you have no source of good bacteria. There's always a source of the bad bacteria. We're always being exposed to infectious organisms through the food that we eat, which is not inspected too well, from the air that we breathe, from people coughing in your face, from somebody, touching you. There's always infectious organisms around us. Whether or not we get infected and whether or not that virus or bacteria thrives in our system depends on our own microecosystem. So we have our own ecosystems inside of our digestive tract, inside of our bodies. The good bacteria produce hydrogen peroxide, so like H2O. But hydrogen peroxide, H2O2. So 2 hydrogens and 2 oxygens. Hydrogen peroxide producing bacteria make the environment aerobic. Aerobic means with oxygen. Okay, they're aerobic bacteria. They like oxygen. They don't like acidic environments. So those bacteria thrive in certain conditions. So if you're exposed to disease-causing organisms that cannot survive in the presence of oxygen, they're anaerobic. When that oxygen is present in the intestines, they die. They can't thrive. Bacteria are living. So they need certain things, they need optimal conditions to live. And viruses, it's debatable in biology whether or not they're alive because they don't reproduce on their own. They hijack something. But viruses still need certain optimal conditions to turn the viruses on, because viruses can be turned on and off, just like our genes. So there are certain things that can turn a virus on or off and turn our genes on and off. So that's one thing about viruses, but viruses also need certain conditions that they kill because they can't survive in the presence of oxygen. And again, the good bacteria are oxygen producing. Everything that we consume now is sterilized. All the milk is pasteurized, the fruits and vegetables are irradiated, which means that they use UV radiation to so-called kill the bacteria. Every bathroom that you go into, I don't care where it is, even when I've been in Central America in the middle of nowhere, you go into the bathroom, there's antibacterial soap. That is causing a serious problem. In 1999, the Museum of Natural History had an exhibit for like a year. The Museum of Natural History in New York City, they had an exhibit on the problem with the problem on the planet right now with antibiotic resistant and antiviral resistant viruses. That's become, all these super strains are becoming a lot more common because of the overuse of antibiotics by the medical industry and antiviral medications by the medical industry and antibiotics and herbicides and pesticides on all commercial food, not just the animal foods, but the plant foods as well. They're covering the herbicides and pesticides, hundreds of them. That kills all the bacteria. That kills the bacteria in the soil. So just a couple generations ago, when people got milk right from the milkman, my parents, my dad grew up in Florida, my mom grew up in the mountain in Pennsylvania, Western Pennsylvania, they both had the milkman delivering milk right to their door. And the cream was still there, the milk, and it wasn't pasteurized and homogenized. That inoculated them with good bacteria. When they would eat fruits and vegetables and play in the dirt had homeostatic soil organisms, which are also another good bacterial strain that is now shown to be not present at all in the soil of the United States and a lot of countries that have big commercial farms and lots of pesticides and herbicides, because now our soil is sterile. So those homeostatic soil organisms we're not being exposed to, and we should just get it from gardening, like I said, playing in the dirt, stuff like that. So if you live in the United States or a lot of countries where you're eating a lot of processed, pasteurized, homogenized, pesticides, herbicides, antibacterial soap type stuff, you have to consciously make an effort to get good bacteria in your system, in your digestive tract. So that means eating foods that are more fermented, like raw yogurts from grass-fed animals, fermented kombucha, there's fermented wheat berries, but fermented foods that have good bacteria, and you want to get a variety because you don't just want to have one bacterial strain. We have hundreds of different bacterial strains in our intestines, hundreds of different species of bacterial strains, so you want to get a variety. And also I would recommend taking a probiotic supplement because we're constantly coming in contact with things that kill all the bacteria, like all the antibacterial soaps, like the pesticides and herbicides, like the chlorine and the fluoride in the drinking water, which also kills all the bacteria. Also, sugar kills the good bacteria and feeds the bad bacteria. Most people do have too much sugar in their diet. For all those reasons, it's very important to take good bacteria, and you don't know when you're going to be exposed to infectious disease. You don't know when you'll be around somebody who has a deadly strain of the flu or tuberculosis or anything. Like I said, you're always becoming exposed to things. Whether or not you get an infection depends on your own personal microecosystem. It's known that when we become exposed to things, our body develops antibodies and resistance to it. That's the whole idea behind vaccines, except for the fact that most vaccines have like mercury and other fillers that are toxic to our brain and to our immune system. That's actually immunosuppressive. So that doesn't make sense to take a vaccine to make you fight, make you stronger against something, but it's also immunosuppressive. That doesn't make sense. But we naturally become exposed to various viruses and bacteria as we live life. That's a natural part of life. But you don't get sick from it when your bacteria, your microecosystem is in balance. So one probiotic supplement that I think is very good, because you have to be careful with what supplements you decide to take, because how they're formed. But there's a company called Garden of Life and Raw Probiotics. The Raw Probiotics, this one has 85 billion live cultures and has 32 different strains. So this is important because sometimes people buy probiotic supplements and it might have 2 or 3 strains, and it doesn't tell you how many colony forming units there are. So when they talk about with probiotic supplements, it should be explained, is it the millions or billions, but it's defined by something called colony forming units, and so it should say that. And so for this one, it's 85 billion colony forming units. It says CFU. And there's lots of different strains in here, 32 different strains. But one thing I really like about this supplement in particular is because it has homeostatic soil organisms, and those strains are practically impossible to find. This is like the only company that really has that. And homeostatic soil organisms are very, very important for our immune system. And like I said, they have been shown to kill lipid-containing viruses. They produce hydrogen peroxide, okay? So probiotics, very, very important for your digestion. If you're having any people that start getting diarrhea or they're constipated, it's always a probiotic issue. If you're getting yeast infections, if you're getting respiratory tract infections, if you're getting UTIs, if you're getting yeast infections, if you're getting athlete's foot, any of those infections are linked to an imbalance of bacteria. So it's very important to make sure that you are inoculating yourself with good bacteria as much as possible. And so that's the end of the probiotic lecture for today. And my name is Makeda Voletta, also known as the Body Scientist. And you can find me on Facebook at Makeda Voletta and on Twitter at Queen_Makeda. Thank you and have a good day.